Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Sports Vault. Jersey Joe Archino here. And the first question of the day is Manchester City a Premier League title contender? Now, obviously, they find themselves after this weekend in the second place spot, right behind Leicester City. Leicester City leading with 47 points, Manchester City in second with 44, and then Arsenal in third also with 44 points. But I think when you ask that question right now, at the time being, you have to say no. Manchester City is not a Premier League title contender. Now, a lot of people will probably say that's insane. They're in second place. How can you say that? I think it's very easy to say that because you look at their resume against the clubs that matter, and it's not much of a resume. I'll go back to after they started the season perfect, literally perfect. 5 wins from 5, no goals conceded. Manchester City was just clicking on all cylinders. And I think the biggest thing of all was the captain, Vincent Kompany, was healthy. He kind of was he gave them that solidarity and that harmonious effect on the defensive side that they so desperately have lacked. Because Vincent Kompany, we go back to last season, he had his setbacks with the calf injury. He was never fully healthy. Same thing this season, struggling with the calf injury to stay on the pitch. Has not seen a lot of time playing in the regular rotation. But we look, and I'll go back to my original point. West Ham United, after Vincent Kompany's injury, I think this is when this all started to kind of unravel and unfold. You go to the first loss against West Ham. They lose 2-1. You go to Tottenham Hotspur, lose 4-1. Man United, bland 0-0 draw. Liverpool, they lose 4-1. Arsenal, they lose 2-1. Leicester, 0-0 draw. Everton, 0-0 draw. And West Ham just this past weekend, a 2-2 draw. That is not the credentials of a Premier League title team. It's just not. Manchester City probably has the most depth and the most talent in the Premier League on their side. Kevin De Bruyne, David Silva, Sergio Aguero, so much talent on this side. But again, I don't think they play together. With this talent and the amount of money that they've spent, the fact that they don't have the competitive advantage in all of these matches against the opponents that matter, that is very telling to me. They don't play together. On the defensive side, there's a total decommitment. I mean, you look at one of the goals that they conceded. Nicolas Otamendi is just it's bad positioning. It's just bad defense, and I think with Vincent Kompany there, obviously that makes things a lot smoother. Things go a lot better. But Vincent Kompany's absence is so telling. And aside from that, I think just the overall point and the overall theme is if you're not beating the teams that are at the top tier, you're not a top tier team. It's as simple as that. If you can't beat the Liverpools, if you can't beat Liverpool's not even in that top 5. I mean, if you can't beat Tottenham, you can't beat Arsenal, you can't find wins against Leicester, how are you considered a Premier League title contender? I just don't see it. Now, Manchester City has, again, like I said, they have more talent, I think, than almost any of these clubs, but it's not showing. The competitive advantage is not there like it should be against the clubs that matter, and for that reason, I don't think you can say they're a legitimate Premier League title contender. With Vincent Kompany back, I think they will be, and they could turn that on at any point, but I think Manchester City always wants to throw money at the problem. And obviously, with the transfer deadline fastly approaching, it seems like there's a lot of guys that they're going to try to make a stab at. John Stones from Everton is one of the guys, and I don't think that's what you do. I don't think throwing more money is going to fix the problem. It is a problem of continuity. It's a problem of harmonious play. They don't play as a team very well. They don't defend as a team very well. And I think in football, that's a problem sometimes, is the ego sometimes get in the way. And I don't think that there's problems with teammates clashing, but I think there's a problem with a sense of connectivity. I don't think that there's close relationships on this side. I mean, you look at Barcelona. Neymar, Messi, and Suarez have such a super close relationship. They're always together. I think they hang out off the pitch. They're good friends, and you could tell by the way they interact with each other. There's a close bond on that side with those guys. And I don't see that. I mean, when you see pictures of Manchester City, I always see Vince and company sitting alone. I see a lot of people alone. I don't see a close bond. And I think that, as much as anything, is attributed to their struggle to play together. We go forward a little bit. I think Sergio Aguero, look, we all know he's as good as it gets. He's missed some significant time. Even with that time missed, he scored 12 goals this season, which is just remarkable and a testament to how great he is. And even in this game, he scores both those goals. I think so many times Manchester City relies so heavily on Sergio Aguero, and I don't think that they know what they would do without his production. I mean, Sergio Aguero has been the rock for their offense, for their production. They really would be in so many difficult positions if he wasn't there for them. But I think you look at Sergio Aguero, and again, if you rely on him so heavily, and this is a guy who's injured a lot of times, I mean, what do you do without him? I think we've seen Kevin De Bruyne came in and he was scoring goals very quickly. A lot of guys on this team have scoring potential, but that potential doesn't happen a lot. I mean, early in the season, it seemed like when everything was perfect, everybody was getting their opportunities, everybody was finding ways to score, and that has just not happened. I think last season, when we saw this period of just not being great and just being average for Manchester City, that was the problem. Is Sergio Aguero was the only person who was making a difference on the offensive end, and I think we're seeing that same thing now. And when Manchester City gets into this kind of area where they're not beating the good teams, the competitive advantage is not there against the good teams, and they're settling for just a lot of mediocre performances, I think a lot of that is all one-sided Sergio Aguero offense, instead of when they were at their best earlier in the season, when everybody was finding ways to be a factor on the offensive side. And again, they have Yaya Toure. They have so many offensive weapons, but a lot of those weapons are not finding themselves in great positions. David Silva obviously is the magician who sets a lot of people up, but again, he had his struggles kind of with the injuries. He was the best player in the Premier League those first few weeks of the season, but once he got injured, he's struggled to find his best form since he has come back. And I just think overall Manchester City has struggled. And now again, they're in second place. It's really hard to come out and be this harsh on a side that is in second place. But I just think even in second place, that's very deceiving, because you look at all those opponents, those top tier opponents, the competitive advantage has not been there, and that's very worrying to me. They have huge matches coming up against Tottenham and against Leicester once again, but they get both of them at the Etihad. Obviously, those are going to be huge, and they can't keep coming out and playing like this. I know you get a draw, and a draw is not the end of the world, but you need wins. You can't keep on walking away from these games against these top-tier opponents and keep settling for draws. It's just not going to happen. They have spent too much money on too many good players, and there's too much talent on this team to be playing this way and not be playing with a competitive advantage. Manchester City has 5 players who are probably worth more than all of Leicester combined, but that doesn't show up on the pitch. It really is not evident, and I think sometimes egos aside, a team or in a club like Leicester can just go out there and play worry-free football, where that's quite the exception with Manchester City. But one thing I do think will help is they have a very favorable matchup against Dynamo Kiev in the Champions League. I think that they're going to be just fine against that matchup, and when you do well in the Champions League, that gives you a lot of success in your own league. And I think when you look at Juventus in Serie A, they came out of the gate and had a historically bad start in their league. But that struggle never transferred to the Champions League. And now we see what Juventus has done with 11 in a row in Serie A wins. I think if you do well in the Champions League, it can help reignite, reinvigorate, and help you find your form in your own respective league. But we will not be sure with that with Manchester City. I don't think until Vincent Kompany is back, and we still don't know if he will be back or what will happen with that until we will see Manchester City reach its top peak form again. It's tough. It's troubling times. That is not the resume of a title contender, and if you ask me, I would say that they are not a legitimate title contender at the moment. But until next time, Jersey Joe Archino here with the Sports Vault. You can follow me on Twitter at Joe Archino, on Instagram Jersey_Joe_Archino, and I will be back very soon.